Alright, comrades, I was perusing some of the comments on Blot's channel on his most recent video. I didn't watch the videos. There's no point. I'll just get triggered again, you know what I mean? And I've put all that behind us. But I do read some of the comments because it's interesting to see what people are saying, you know. I mean, most people are just praising Blot to the fucking heavens, you know what I mean? They're not in any way critical, but you get the odd person who is critical. There wasn't any that I could see in the comments section after this particular video, which was the Costa Coffee drive-through in Barmston. But there was one comment that stood out, because they mentioned me. I don't know who it was, didn't look at the name, just someone said, I wonder what Gary would think of Blot's conversation with Dev. Now, in the video, and I had to go and look at the video to find out what he meant by this, you know, who was Dev. So I flicked through. I wasn't going to watch the whole thing. I flicked through and I found the part where Blot is having a chat. Even though he's on a stealth camp, he's having a chat with a bloke in the car park while he's wandering around with a camera late at night. And this guy, Dev, was from Sudan and lived locally in Washington. Now, this person who commented was wondering what I would think of what Blot and this guy were saying to each other. Well, what's there to say? Blot was just friendly to the guy was friendly to Blot. Blot told him about his channel. Dev looked his channel up while they were chatting, probably subscribed. Blot asked Dev where he was from. Dev asked Blot where he was from. Small talk, you know what I mean? Small talk. There was no hatred. There was no nastiness. They didn't get into the whys and the wherefores of Dev's, you know, existence in Britain. Why is he here and all that, you know? How did he get here? Is he an immigrant? Is he an asylum seeker? Is he whatever? Blot didn't ask them questions. And why would you? It's irrelevant, isn't it? It's irrelevant. If someone's being nice to you, doesn't matter where they're from, doesn't matter what colour they are, doesn't matter what language they speak, as long as you can understand each other on some level, you know. Why should... I don't understand why this person commented. What would I make? What would I think about Blot and Dev having this conversation? Well, what is there to think? It's just two human beings having a chat. Blot was drunk. Dev clearly wasn't. But they still got along. It didn't really matter that Blot had had a drink. Blot wasn't being nasty. Dev certainly wasn't being nasty to Blot. It was just a friendly chat between two random strangers who met in a car park because Blot was camping out in the bushes behind the car park. A bizarre meeting, but nevertheless a friendly chat. And then, of course, Blot, I did watch a bit more after that to see what Blot would say about Dev when he got back to his tent. And Blot touched on the subject of immigration. Now, there's an issue we'd probably disagree on. Immigration. Blot said he's fine with people coming into the country as long as they're not criminals. They don't have criminal records. Well, yeah, that's fair enough, isn't it? But what is a criminal? I mean, laws vary across the world. In Britain, for example, you're not classed as a criminal if you exploit thousands of people for profit. It's legal. In fact, it's not even illegal for the Prime Minister to grant the supply of killing machines to a genocidal regime. In my view, anyone that does that should be thrown in jail. Supplying weapons to a genocidal regime to murder children. Come on, that should be illegal. In fact, the United Nations considers the occupation of Palestine illegal. But no one's gone to jail for it. No one's been prosecuted for it. It's not seen as illegal by the British government. So laws vary, don't they? Poor people coming over in boats, dinghies, whatever, if they've got records for petty crime, well, what caused them to resort to petty crime? Were they living under a brutal regime that made laws that are highly oppressive towards poor people? And did those people acquire criminal records because they were desperate and they went out and stole something to survive? You just don't know. Who makes the laws? That's the question you should be asking. And who do the laws serve primarily? It's a minefield, isn't it? All this. You can't allow criminals in. Well, who's the real criminals? That's the thing. Who's the real fucking criminals? Look, in my view, the world is run by criminals. The people who run the world are criminals. And yet they go wherever they want. They run countries. They run our country. They run America. They run Russia. They run all the big fucking powerful imperialist states. These are the worst criminals on earth. These are causing death and suffering on an unimaginable scale. But they're not in prison. It's mad, innit? So rather than be bothered about someone who might have stole a loaf of bread coming over here in a dinghy, desperate for a better life, why be bothered about them? You should be more bothered, much more bothered than the people, the criminals, the scumbags who are running your country and running the world and causing all this mayhem and all this suffering, all this carnage and genocide, for fuck's sake. Genocide. That's what we should be bothered about. And yet these people can go anywhere they like in the world. They've got private fucking aeroplanes, man. Private jets. They've got yachts. And the billionaires can do what they like with their wealth. Nobody questions that. Nobody goes, hang on a bit. You can't cross borders with those billions of pounds that you've stole from the British working class. And the tax you've avoided, you can't cross borders. No. They do it anyway, at the touch of a button. Offshore bank account, tax haven. Avoid supplying the NHS with vital funds. Avoid supplying the British people with vital public services. Shift the wealth abroad. Shift it around the world. Invest it here and there to exploit other people and make more profit. Make yourself even more billions. Why are we not questioning that? The free movement of capital is one of the greatest problems of humanity. The fact that a handful of people who dominate the world economy can move their wealth around the world at the drop of a hat and do whatever the fuck they like with it while avoiding paying the fair amount of tax in the countries that they reside. It's wrong. It's fucking wrong. But of course, they get away with it by distracting us with propaganda. Propaganda blaming poor immigrants, It's not us, the billionaires, who run the world. It's not us causing all the shit. It's them poor people in that rubber boat. The guy who stole a loaf of bread and he's got a criminal record. It's him. It's him. You should hate. Not us, who control all the wealth and strip everything from you that you need for a decent standard of living. It's not us. Fuck off. It is them. And that's all we should be bothered about. Not poor fucking immigrants. But yeah, I understand why people get obsessed about immigration. Like Blot said in his video, we need controlled immigration. We shouldn't allow people in because that's the propaganda. They're being fed this shit by the billionaires to distract them from the billionaires and direct their anger towards a false enemy, poor immigrants. And when that gets out of hand, you can end up with the worst possible government, because the hate builds, doesn't it? It festers and it spreads and it takes people over and it makes people twisted and it makes society rotten. And people are so angry at the wrong people that they can vote for the worst government. This is what happened in Germany when people voted for Hitler, because Hitler and the billionaires in Germany blamed the Jews for all the problems, and everybody was angry at the Jews, and Hitler promised to deal with the Jews, so they voted Hitler into power, and look what he did. Not only did he kill the Jews, he killed anyone who supported the Jews. And he destroyed democracy, and he destroyed freedom. Is that what you want? Hitler even banned the Boy Scouts, for fuck's sake, and jazz music. I mean, I didn't like jazz music, but I didn't want it banned. Fucking hell. Come on, man. If you want freedom, if you want democracy, if you want a decent society, then we've got to get away from this hatred towards minorities, and we've got to focus on the real culprits, the rich and powerful at the top of society that own and control the wealth. That's the problem. They are the problem. They're your enemy, not the poor people who were desperate enough to flee their impoverished lives in another country and come over, risk their lives on the seas to come over in dodgy fucking little rafts. It's not them to blame. But I get why Blot and other people have this thing about immigration. Of course I do. It's the propaganda. They're constantly being fed this shit. They're constantly being fed this shit by the media that's run by the billionaires, because it distracts them from the billionaires and lets the billionaires off the hook, so the billionaires can do what they like. They can continue with their free movement of capital, moving their wealth around the world as they see fit, and doing whatever they like, and going wherever they like in their private fucking jets and yachts. Of course they can, because we're too busy hating the wrong people. Anyway, I was glad to see Blot. I was glad to see Blot treating Dev nicely, because that's where it should be. It shouldn't matter if the guy's black, shouldn't matter if he's from Sudan, shouldn't matter if he speaks Arabic, you know, as his first language. Shouldn't matter. Shouldn't matter if he's a Muslim. Shouldn't matter. It doesn't matter. What matters is the world is run by billionaires, multi-billionaires, the super rich, and they're putting propaganda in our heads to divide us, to make us hate people who are just the same as us, but might have a different colour skin, different religious beliefs, or speak a different language. And that's wrong, isn't it? That's wrong. We've got to unite. We've got to unite against the rich and powerful. Because if we don't, we're heading for the worst possible government and the worst possible society. And nobody should want that. Anyway, yeah, well done, Blot, for speaking, you know, in a friendly manner with that guy. I don't agree with what you said about immigration, but then, of course, you've got the propaganda of the rich ruling class in your head, and I haven't. So we're not going to agree. But hopefully you can overcome that propaganda and come to agree with Uncle Gaz one day. We live in hope. But anyway, yeah, I'm not going to criticise you because I'm past all that. Well done, moving towards 100,000 subscribers, by the way. You know, I've got no qualms about you progressing in popularity. Just wish you were more left-wing, that's all. But we can't have everything. And I'm not going to criticise you because you can't say that. You can't say anything about blood. I'm only kidding. See you in a bit. Au revoir.